What's more pleasurable? If you love someone or if they love you? You could love or you could be loved. I mean, usually they go hand in hand. You're going to have both from a relationship. But which pleasure is greater? Loving someone or being loved? And it really depends. Because really objectively speaking, loving others is a greater pleasure. If you love others, you're growing, you're becoming more, you're expanding, you're giving. If you're loved, you're filling yourself up. Your soul is getting full. Your soul needs to be full. Your soul needs to feel cherished. Your soul needs to feel loved and appreciated and important and valuable. That's your soul's number one basic need. If you don't, you're going to be desperate in whatever way you can to feel that way. Because just like the body needs oxygen and water to survive, the soul needs to feel this way. It needs to feel cherished. If you don't feel cherished, anytime you try to give, you try to do something for other people, it will really just be you trying to fill yourself up and make yourself feel better about yourself. So if you feel good about yourself, if you feel cherished, then giving to others is the next pleasure. Because there's two pleasures. There's the pleasure of comfort, the pleasure of filling yourself up. That's one pleasure. And the second pleasure is the pleasure of growing, of becoming more. And you need to feel good about yourself before you have the pleasure of growing. Because when you run after growing and you don't have that, it will just be your soul desperately trying to achieve feeling good about yourself. And when you run after something, when you're trying to achieve something that you're not aware of, you end up not realizing that you achieved it. You can't achieve it, so you keep not being full because you're running after giving to someone and loving the other person. You don't feel loved inside. So there's people that could be running around doing all these a bunch of charities and helping people without feeling good about themselves. So what you need to do is you need to make sure you feel good about yourself first. You feel cherished first, and then give to others. Because when you feel cherished, you'll be more in a position to give to others. And your giving will be authentic. People will feel better from how you're giving. They'll feel it. There's a difference. They'll feel the difference. It's not what you say or what you give to them. It's just something that people feel because it's your soul. What your soul wants. Your soul's giving to them in a way they feel that you just want the best for them. They feel that. They don't feel it when you're really giving in order to take. They feel it. People feel it. It comes across in the wrong way. So that's a prerequisite for having pleasure, is feeling cherished. Very, very important to feel cherished. And how? What's the secret to feeling cherished? Some people, they grow up in a family where they have two parents that are madly in love with them and that know how to show their love for them. And those people have a very easy time feeling cherished. They have a very easy time finding their life partner because they're attracted to people that will be able to cherish them and they're able to cherish the other person. But sometimes when somebody grows up in a home where they weren't cherished, and they don't have friends necessarily, what do they do then? The secret to being cherished is cherish yourself. You know, if somebody gives you a compliment, the more you respect them, the greater you'll feel from their compliment. So it's really you that's deciding to feel good because you're the one who decided to respect them. So why not respect everyone? Why not cherish everyone? And then when you get complimented by them, you really feel good. It feels so good because you value their opinion. Well, why not? It's scary. If you respect everyone, somebody could reject you. That's the scary part. You could be rejected and then it hurts so much more. But with loving yourself, with cherishing yourself, well, then you're in control of rejecting yourself or not. So just cherish yourself in both ways. Love yourself and accept the love. Be loved by yourself and love yourself. And then you get both. That's the secret to being cherished. Cherish yourself. And it's not selfish. When you cherish yourself, it's so much easier to give. You come from a place of giving because you're not empty. You're full, so you could give. People that cherish themselves are much more forgiving of others, are much more loving people. What's the definition of selfishness? And what's the definition of selflessness? Is it selfish to have a child? Because they don't exist, right? If you are going to have the child, how is it possible for it to be a selfless act? Because they don't exist. How could you be giving to them for the sake of giving if they don't even exist? For their sake, you can't give to them for their sake if they don't exist yet, right? So is that selfish? What's the definition of selfishness? Selfishness is taking on the expense of someone else or others. What's the definition of selflessness? It doesn't mean you don't benefit from something. There's actually no way that you won't benefit from giving. It's impossible to do something, giving, and not benefit yourself. So selflessness is doing something that doesn't only benefit yourself, it benefits others. Having a child, it benefits you, but it benefits the child. Even if they weren't born yet, they didn't exist yet, it benefits the child. Is it good to come into this world? Are you happy that you were born in this world? Of course, it's the greatest pleasure. If you weren't in this world, you wouldn't be able to have pleasure. So the only way you can see having a child as selfish is if you think that this world is a terrible place to be. If that's how you think of this world, then yes, you could say you're hurting someone else by bringing them into this world. You're gaining and they're losing out. That will be selfish. If you're both gaining, that's selfless. Selfless is never that the other person gains and you don't gain anything. You don't want to confuse victimhood and selfishness. They're not the same thing. Don't think when I'm saying be selfless, doesn't mean be a victim. What's a victim? Somebody else takes from you. You end up with less and the other person ends up with something. Selflessness is you gain and help others at the same time. Selfishness is that you gain on the expense of others. Victimhood, being a victim, somebody else gains on your expense. Dr. David Lieberman has an example. He says, when you give charity, let's say there's a man on the street collecting and you give him $10, it feels good. But if you're walking somewhere and somebody steals $10 from you, that feels horrible. So don't confuse giving and being a victim. Selflessness feels so good, always. It feels really good. Being a victim feels terrible. But what if a person doesn't have a sense of self? They don't know that they're a good person. And they go and they try to prove that they're a good person by doing good things for others. By giving in a way that they don't get anything back. That they're just giving and giving and giving. And they think they're gonna feel good. But they just feel worse and worse because they're just getting more and more empty. That's not selflessness. Though someone who does that ends up being so desperate to feel good about themselves, so desperate to feel full, that they actually become very selfish. They end up having an easier time getting angry, easier time being stubborn, just the negative things, because they need to protect themselves. They need to hold on to whatever it is that they do have, the tiny bit that they do have. They are so desperate to feel good about themselves. So it's very important to love yourself. Just cherish yourself. Give to yourself. Love yourself and let yourself be loved. And if you're the kind of person that's weirded out by that, weirded out because why should you love yourself? It's so weird. I would say it's important that you do change, that you do try to love yourself. Don't rely on others to cherish you. It's great if you have that and appreciate that. When others cherish you, feel it, experience it, let it sink in how you're being so cherished. But don't wait to be cherished by others. Cherish yourself. I remember I was by a wedding and I met an old friend and we were talking and the dancing started and we wanted to continue to talk. So we went out into the hall and we were talking. And you know how when you're walking down the street and somebody waves to you and you think they're waving to, you think that they're waving to you, so you're about to wave back and then you notice that there's somebody behind you that they're waving to. So I got that kind of feeling. It was like, she wasn't waving, but she was like looking at someone with a lot of recognition. And I turn around and it's a mirror. She saw her reflection in the mirror, and she was just, she was so happy to see herself. And it was very cute. She really liked herself. It's really so easy. And that person, she was such a confident person, such a loving person. Everyone wants to be her friend. When you cherish yourself, you could be that kind of person. But the first step is cherish yourself. That's why that story that I said about my high school experience, that's why it was so hard for me, because I was doubting myself. I was doubting that I was lovable. I was doubting that I was valuable. I wasn't feeling cherished. If I felt cherished, I would have been able to handle everything so much better. Please like this video and subscribe and bell if you haven't already. And I would love to hear from you. If you could comment too. Let's set out to do great things. You know you can.